Hello again, and thanks for tuning in to the Fat Feminist Witch podcast, the show where we do a little ranting, raving, and wand waving. This is episode 31, Resurrecting Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas. I am your host, Paige, the Fat Feminist Witch, and today we're going to be talking about magical fashion, dressing with intention, and Lori Cabot, the official witch of Salem, Massachusetts, and the incredible advice that she posts to her Twitter account every single day. This episode is a little bit of a redo. I did do an episode called Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas a year or so ago, but for some reason the file for that has completely disappeared. Since then, I've been getting regular emails and messages like, oh, I really wanted to listen to that. It sounds really interesting. Do you ever think that you'll find the audio, or do you think you'll do it again? So I have decided to revisit it because it was a really fun episode. I love the topic of magical fashion and with using your intuition and your magical intention in this very regular ritual that everyone does every day, which is getting dressed in the morning. I'm also going to review the book Magical Fashionista by Tess Whitehurst. This is not something that I did in the original episode. In the original episode, I reviewed The Legacy of Magic. It was an Ellen Dugan book called The Legacy of Magic, from the Legacy of Magic series called Secret of the Rose. I remember really liking that book and the review was really positive, but it's been a while since I've read it, so I decided not to just read the review. Now, this episode is going to be a mixture of new content and old content because I found the show notes from the original Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas. So I'm going to use my show notes. I've rearranged them a little bit to present some of the same information, but with some new stuff or with some, reminiscing about the original episode. Some of the things that I remember, because I very clearly remember the time that I recorded this, because I had to record it, I think, 3 times in a row, because something happened to the file 2 times. And then, of course, the file ended up disappearing. It was doomed from the start, you guys, doomed from the start. So I'm very excited to redo it. So let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about Lori Cabot and about her Twitter account and this daily advice that she posts. So back when I did the original episode of Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas, and again, to prepare for this episode, I decided to have a little challenge where for 7 straight days, I checked Lori Cabot's Twitter and checked out her daily advice for witches or anyone else who's reading it, and decided to really follow it and see what kind of effect it had on my daily life and on my magic especially. You can still find my posts at fatfeministwitch.com from my original Lori Cabot Twitter challenge, which I actually had a lot of fun doing, and I had a lot of fun revisiting it this time. So if you want to check this out, go to twitter.com/Lori Cabot, LaurieCabot, and check out this little bit of daily advice. Now, it's just a little sentence. So, for example, I started on March 13th. That was a Tuesday, yes. And her advice was, wear yellow, open a bank account to save money, eat sunflower seeds. Very simple. So, I whipped out my favorite yellow t-shirt, which is like super comfortable. It's the most comfortable t-shirt in the world. I whipped out my super comfortable favorite yellow t-shirt, and I grabbed my bag of honey roasted sunflower seeds, which I've actually been really obsessed with. And I had a really great snack. I had something really kind of unpleasant to do that day. I started a treatment program for depression. It's a self-help type program. So that day I was expecting to be a little bit difficult. And wearing my most comfortable and my favorite very brightly colored t-shirt actually helped me stay a little bit cheerful. I also brought my sunflower seeds with me and had a snack, even though I was going to be there for 3 hours. And otherwise I would have forgotten to bring those. I was actually pretty excited. As far as the bank account goes, I actually recently opened, like 4 days earlier, I had opened a tax-free savings account because I thought that was very, very adult and grown up and responsible. So I opened myself a tax-free savings account. So I wasn't going to open a new savings account, but I did put some money in my savings account, my brand new savings account. So all of that stuff is really good. It helped me feel a little bit more cheerful throughout the day, and it was a comfortable way for me to get started with this challenge. It's also just, It's very light and breezy advice that's kind of easy to follow, but there is magical intention behind that. So as far as the yellow and the sunflower seeds and all of that is concerned, Tuesdays, which is the day I started, is the day that is aligned with the element and the element of fire and the planet of Mars. It's a very like hot, confident type of day. But I didn't really need to be ready to go into battle. I didn't need to be wearing black and red and have my battle armor on. What I needed was something a little bit more subdued. Rather than fire, I needed a little bit more sunshine. And it just so happens that the advice really, really plugged that to me. Now, you might have seen that advice and grabbed your most badass, vinyl, bright yellow entire pantsuit or something like that. Something really, really wild and tough that makes you feel really intense. Or maybe you grabbed something that's a nice dark mustard yellow and is really, really classy and upscale. There's a million different ways that someone could take that advice, and magic that it has, even though there's a magical intention behind that is kind of one track. Depending on the person, it's interpreted in a million different ways, and you can get a million different magical outcomes from it, which is why I really like it, and why I think it's a little bit spooky that Laurie Cabot's advice is always just so perfect. The reason I originally recorded Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas is because it was Sunday, March 6th, according to my notes, which was Laurie Cabot's 83rd birthday. So she must be 84 or 85 now. Her birthday just passed. Happy birthday to Miss Laurie Cabot if she ever hears this, which is unlikely, but still. Laurie Cabot, for those who don't know, is the official witch of Salem, Massachusetts, and one of the most famous witches in the world. Laurie was actually born in Oklahoma, of all places, in 1933, but grew up in California before she made her way to Massachusetts as a teenager. She always felt like she had some psychic abilities, and she had met Boston witches in her teens who were willing to work with her and teach her a little bit of their own witchcraft. So since the 70s, she's been an outspoken advocate for witches' rights, and she even opened the first She opened the first witchcraft shop in North America in 1971. And in her 80s, she still teaches, she still works. She's not at the same store anymore, which is Crowhaven Corner, which is technically still that first official witch shop, which is owned by another witch that is hilariously named Laurie in Salem. But she does work through another shop of hers called Enchanted, and she still does do stuff out of her store, and you can still see Laurie Cabot walking through Salem looking like a total badass. She always wears tons of black makeup and really dope capes. She's got like this beautiful face tattoo. She's really amazing. She also uses Twitter and posts this incredible daily Twitter advice. I check them every morning, usually just for fun. And I kind of always wonder why she recommends these things. Of course, all these years later, I stopped wondering and have figured it out. But at the time, it required a little bit of study on my part. So I pulled out my copy of Magical Fashionista and also Book of Witchery by Ellen Dugan, which is all about your daily correspondences and things. And it's funny, when you look at the references at the back of Magical Fashionista, you definitely see Book of Witchery by Ellen Dugan in there as a reference book that Tess Whitehurst used while writing it. Amazing. Both of these books really help with not only dressing magically, but using the magical energy of every single day of the week to, live your life and conduct your magical business. So I know what colors work for which days. Like I said, Tuesday is a Mars day. It's very fiery and it's very intense, so lots of blacks and reds. I know which stones and herbs and deities influence some of the days, and some of the advice that Laurie was giving, especially back then, this whole year ago, it didn't quite jive with what I knew. A good example was that first outfit, where instead of something more intense like black and red, it's something a little bit more low-key, like bright yellow and open a savings account and eat sunflower seeds. But I did definitely need that energy, so I get it now. So I thought it would be fun back then to follow her advice to the letter for a week and see what happened. Throughout the week, I also did some research with these two books. and online with Color Magic and all of that, just to see where I thought some of her information was coming from and why those particular colors or styles or something might be appropriate for this particular day of the week. And I'm pleased to say that back then and this time around, the results were very witchy. Both times I've done this now. What happened, I noticed, is that I was a little bit shaken out of the routine that I put myself into. I'm very much into routines and into organization. I'm a creature of habit so much. So, you know, on that Tuesday, I really would have worn a really badass black and red outfit, but the sunny outfit really made me feel better. And maybe that first one would have been a little too intense for what I was doing. Maybe it was too intense of a vibe to send out there, and I seemed a little bit more friendly and approachable. That is definitely a positive thing. And I found that on most of these days anyways, the changes that I made because of the advice from her really did lead to some positive experience or to a little bit more magic. So another really good one was the following day, was March 14th. Lori Cabot said, wear black, stay independent in a relationship, and don't tell secrets. And this is what I did. And I was able to avoid a lot of, I could tell I was cruising towards a lot of fights and arguments, and people were, like, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck all day. It is the last 2 days as well. It's Mercury retrograde's coming. But so Wednesday the 14th, was actually kind of a wacky day. Black is very protective, and I really did need that protective vibe. I really did need to spend some time by myself, and I really did need to just keep my mouth shut a little bit and not listen to any gossip because it was swirling around me a lot that day. So I wore my black. I kept to myself a little bit. I tried to avoid talking just too much. I did a little bit more listening than talking, and I carried a Gossip Stop Mojo bag, and I ended up having a really great day. Even though I was a little bit paranoid all day, I did end up having a really great day. Meanwhile, Wednesdays are a day, according to Magical Fashionista and to, daily correspondences. Wednesdays are kind of a fun, wacky, airy day. It's a day to wear something flowy. I usually wear bright colors. I'm a little bit extra social on Wednesdays. It's a day of communication, which is why the podcast episodes have been coming out on Wednesdays. But this Wednesday, it was really good to just keep to myself, to relax a little bit, to keep my mouth shut, and to focus on listening. It worked out really well. So let's look at some of my notes here. As I said, this first episode, I can tell you exactly what I was doing and wearing when I recorded it because it was such a frustrating experience. Luckily, I wrote the whole thing out first. So it took me forever. I sat there and I wrote by hand in my little notebook, and then I recorded on my phone the episode before realizing that my microphone wasn't recording at all. So I had to restart. I recorded the whole thing again, and then my finger slipped. And the whole episode didn't get saved. Oh my god, even just thinking about it now, I just want to cry a little bit. I remember how frustrated I was. But finally, on the third try, the episode came out pretty great, and I'm glad that a lot of you people have said that you liked it and that you want me to redo it, because that was such a difficult and frustrating experience. It's nice to have another chance, and it's nice to know that all of that work wasn't for nothing. I will admit that some days I blanked or got a little bit lazy and didn't do it. It just didn't work for me. For example, on March 18th, which is, what was that, Sunday? I'm looking at my calendar here. Sunday, March 18th, wear red, dress up, go out, meet someone new. I didn't do that. I mean, I wore red. I put on a new red sweater that I have that I'd never worn before, and I really liked it. I did dress up a little bit, and then I spent most of the day hanging out at home. I had a lot of anxiety, and I didn't feel like leaving. So I didn't go out and meet anyone new, and I feel kind of bad about it, even though, ain't nobody checking for this but me. But still. On March 19th, wear pink, look in the mirror, enjoy your beauty, try a new hairstyle. This was a really fun day. I wore hot pink. I still hung out on my couch most of the day, but I cleaned up an altar space that I have for my grandmother. It's to do a lot with pink because she loved pink and beauty, and there's a mirror on it. So I cleaned up that mirror, and I took extra care to smile into the mirror and to look into it throughout the day. I did a little face mask and a little foot scrub. I did all sorts of kind of pampering things, and I didn't realize quite how badly I needed a day to pamper myself. I didn't realize at all how worn down I was. And after that day, I felt so fantastic. So fantastic. It was great. I loved that day. March 20th, which is today, or yesterday when you listen to this. March 20th, wear green, put $10 in your savings account, and watch your temper. I actually ended up putting about $40 in my savings account. So that brand new savings account that I just started like a week and a half ago now has, something like almost $50 in it, a brand new savings account. So that's really great. That is something tangible that I can see that she kind of encouraged me to do. And I'm really excited about that because I'm not so great at saving money. I also really did have to watch my temper yesterday. Or today, whatever, March 20th. I really had to watch my temper. really had to watch my temper. The 19th and the 20th, so Monday and Tuesday, I've started to really feel Mercury retrograde, which is coming on the 22nd. I don't know if you guys are feeling it. I'm feeling it. And I feel like the other people around me are feeling it. This has been another time where I've seen a lot of fights. A lot of people at the place I went yesterday, they were just looking to get in a fight. Just looking to get in a fight. And they were very defensive and confrontational and combative. And I felt really anxious. And I ended up having to just leave myself from the situation. I kept seeing the words of on Twitter, watch your temper. And I thought, you know what? Instead of getting pissed off, I'm just going to walk away. And it ended up being a lot better. And I came home and things were a lot more chill and I felt a lot better. So this advice definitely comes from somewhere a little bit magical. She's got these, she's using her intuition, and she's using her intuition kind of far in the future because she posts these things. Like she has up until March 25th posted on her account right now. I'm looking at it. It's like every day you just have a psychic telling you, by the way, things might be a little sketchy today, so you might want to be careful because there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to get angry and, act like a monster. It's like having a psychic every day tell you what you could expect. It's super, super helpful. And when I find myself really paying attention to it and remembering it all day and not just checking it in the morning just for funsies, but actually keeping to it, I've actually found that my days go a little bit smoother. I realize things that before weren't so obvious, like on my day that I really needed a little bit of a spa day, I hadn't realized how tired and how out of it I really was until I was like, oh, let's focus on some beauty stuff today. And then I realized that, gosh, I really needed that. So I love following this advice. I'm really happy I did it again. I've continued to check Lori's advice since I recorded the first Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas. I've continued to follow the advice. I don't always follow it specifically to the letter every single time, but it always gives me a little bit of a heads up of what I can expect for the day or some ways that I can magically prepare. This episode is coming out on March 21st. It's March 21st today if you're listening. On the first day. It could be any time after that, but I'm going to talk about what she says for March 21st. So March 21st, Lori Cabot says to wear green, paint symbols on your left arm for healing, and cook in a copper pot. Very specific. I don't have a copper pot, unfortunately, so I can't do that one, but I might incorporate some of the copper chunks and nuggets that I have in some of the magic that I'm doing today. But if you have a copper pot, please use it. Break out some green. Green is actually a really great color for today because the moon is waxing, which means it's a really good time for manifesting and magnetizing yourself, attracting new things. It's also a Wednesday, And Wednesdays, like I said, can be a little bit wacky and airy. So wearing something a little bit more grounding like green can help you feel a little bit more productive today. As far as painting symbols on your left arm, this is actually really interesting. Your left arm is the arm, right hands are said to be projective, while left hands they take things in, receptive. So if you want to attract healing, some things that you might want to focus on healing today, I mean, we are in the middle of a moon void, of course, in between Aries and Gemini. So you might want to think about things like healing your energy levels, because Aries is a very energetic sign. In the morning, you might feel a little energetic, and in the afternoon, that might start to wane. You might want to paint some symbols for healing on your left arm about your energy levels, for sleep. For other things that are grounding, like food or nourishment or sustenance, things like that. It's also a day of communication and of intellectual pursuit, so you can focus on healing that stuff. It's also a really great day to get ready for Mercury retrograde, when you might be faced with a lot of old issues from your past, so you can work with healing that now. It starts tomorrow, so there's no harm in getting a head start there. And copper is, again, it's a very conductive material. It conducts magic. So it works a lot like a quartz crystal. It conducts magic, it amplifies magic, and it tends to ground and also attract prosperity and luck and love and all of those really great things. So you can kind of see how that advice really does work with the energies we've got going on today, and how it can make your day just go a little bit better. So in Magical Fashionista here, since our moon is waxing and is in the sign of Aries, I was able to look that up and see that Aries days are a little bit more energetic and they're days to get stuff done. Waxing moon days are also kind of hyped because it's that time before the full moon. You're getting ready. You're attracting things to you. You're manifesting and magnetizing are the words that she uses there. So you don't have to throw on a green t-shirt. You can wear something really incredible, like incredible green earrings or a wristwatch with a really, really great green band on it that attracts things like wealth, that work with more energetic pursuits, like working or really getting a lot of stuff done, or starting new projects. It's a great time to start new projects because Ostara was yesterday. It was the first day of spring. So this advice is actually really cool. This one little sentence has a lot of energy packed into it. And if you combine it with some of the stuff you get from Magical Fashionista or from your regular daily correspondences, you definitely have an entire magical ritual just ready to go. Another thing I really like about dressing magically and about following Laurie Cabot's advice is that when you're going through those times when magic is kind of difficult to actively do, you know, when you don't have the energy for rituals, when you don't feel like lighting any candles or casting any spells is really what you should be doing right now, this is something small that can motivate you to be magical, to incorporate magic into your daily life. So the first time I did this challenge, and again this time, some of the advice was to cast spells for certain things, and I did it. And I loved it. I loved it. I haven't cast spells in a long time, and so I got a little extra excited, and on days when it says do no magic, I actually got a little bit bummed out, even though that had been kind of a normal thing for me. So I really liked that this small action, this small thing that you're going to do anyways, which is get dressed for the day, can be turned into this incredibly magical experience that keeps you connected to that energy, to your own magic. So when I first started doing my Laurie Cabot challenge the first time around, I actually got quite a few comments and even one angry email telling me that fashion just wasn't important, it wasn't spiritual, and that someone dictating what other people can wear is nitpicky. And while I can kind of see the point in the latter, it's not like she's like, you have to wear green pants and a yellow shirt today. She's not going so far. She still leaves it really up to you. So I don't think she's totally nitpicking in that regard. But the fact that fashion is not important or is vain or shallow or is not spiritual is just so not true. Fashion absolutely doesn't have to be your thing. Fashion isn't necessarily my thing. Like I said, I'm an artistic person. I like working with colors and shapes and stuff like that. But I don't follow big name designers. I don't go to fashion shows. I don't have a million pairs of shoes. You know, I am not the average fashionista. I'm not someone that you would call a fashionista or who would even call themselves a fashionista. And if you look at some of the selfies I posted both the first time around and in the blog post I've just posted that shows some of the things I wore this time around, you'll see that I'm pretty much a fashion reject. I often describe my personal style as a cross between Janis Joplin, Courtney Love, and Elvira, and that is like totally real. That's real. Those are my fashion icons. But working with color magic and working it into your clothes is far from ridiculous. I mean, witches all over use colored candles. You choose the candle color that is most appropriate for your purpose. Now, does it actually matter if your money spell has a green candle in it or a white candle? Does it really matter? Do you feel like if you do everything right and you put your intention in and you fully believe in your magic money spell, but your candle isn't colored green, that it's not going to work? Absolutely not. But how much easier is it to stay focused while you're doing your magic, and how much better does it all look and feel to you when that candle color is green or gold or something that fits with the general theme and vibe and energy that you're going for? Outside of candles, I mean, maybe you have an altar cloth that's a certain color. Why did you choose that color? Is it because it makes you feel magical? Do you have a purple altar cloth because this is the color of magic? Do you have a red altar cloth because this is the color of love and sex and you do a lot of love and sex magic? Working with colors is something that we already do all the time as witches. So why not work it into the clothing that you're wearing or the makeup that you're wearing or the way that you're wearing things or carrying yourself to present your magic to the world in a certain way, or even to hide it? There's lots of, blend in with the crowd, stay invisible type advice as well. I kind of want you, if you are the kind of person who thought maybe that fashion is silly and it's not something to pay attention to, I really want you to stop for a second and think about, why is burning a red candle and asking for some really fiery confidence a witchy act? But wearing red or fiery jewelry or clothes or something for the exact same purpose, then kind of flighty and flaky and fake witchcraft. A lot of times I often feel that this is one of those internalized misogyny type situations, especially if you are a woman or a feminine presenting person who has decided that fashion and clothing and makeup are silly and shallow and not worth your time and not worth the time of other women and that they should bail. Why is it that you're picking something that is classically attributed to women, is, loved by women, paid attention to mostly by women? Although I gotta say, some of the biggest designers are men, which is unreal. It's just like cooking in kitchens. Why do you think that this industry and this art form, I think it's an art form, that is most attributed to women, why do you instantly think it's flighty and flaky and non-important? Could it possibly be that this is one of those things that society uses to tell us that women are not important and that the things we care about are silly and stupid, and that you maybe internalized that a little bit? It's okay. Everyone's like that sometimes. I have been like that in the past, but you just don't need to. People can enjoy things. People can just enjoy things. And someone's witchcraft or how they practice or the things that they find magical don't have to be the same as you. You don't have to dress magically. You absolutely don't. If you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt to cast all of your spells and your t-shirt, is full of holes and has something kind of ugly on it, that's totally fine. As long as you feel comfortable and you know what your intention and your goals and everything are, and you're still putting all of that energy into your magic spell, even if you're not using anything that has any sort of magical color and your outfit is dingy, it just doesn't matter. You can still do magic that way. But if you are already someone who wields a makeup brush better than like a calligraphy pen, and you have this big closet full of really amazing, incredible, all different things. Why not use those in your magic to help you achieve your goals, to help you attract the things you want to your life, to help you express who you are to other people so that you can connect with people on those levels, those deeper levels. It's not just about like, I'm wearing purple because I like it. It's more like, I'm wearing purple because it makes me feel confident and regal, and it makes me feel like I have power over my own life. And this is something other people can relate to. I mean, you don't have to say that to strangers, of course, but it's not a shallow pursuit. It's not just a skin deep, I like colors, I like clothes. Oh, that's okay, of course. It's more like an expression of your inner energy and your spirituality through clothing. Right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys. So I highly recommend you check out Lori Cabot's Twitter, which, like I said, is twitter.com/Lori Cabot or @Lori Cabot. You can also just go to my own Twitter page, and I retweet every day her little bit of advice. So try dressing magically or using your intuition when you're getting ready in the morning. Try making that more of a magical experience. If you want a little bit of help figuring out the energy of every day of the week, I have actually posted on my blog at fatfeministwitch.com, I have actually posted a series of posts about daily magic. And I also link to each day's magical signature in my post about this new Lori Cabot challenge and how it made me feel, and some of the pictures of some of the things that I wore throughout the week. So check that out if you guys are interested in starting to dress magically or incorporate things like daily correspondences and daily magic and moon phases and astrological phases into how you conduct yourself during the day. You don't have to do this every day. You know, you can pick certain magical days of the week or days of the week when you're off work or something and magic up those days. It's really interesting to see the correlations between magical correspondences and our regular mundane life. For example, Thursdays are a day for money and prosperity magic. And of course, Thursday is also payday for a lot of people. Now it's payday because it's the end of the week, the weekend's coming. And in the old days when people actually had weekends off and no one worked, this was so that you were prepped for the weekend because the banks also weren't open. But how interesting is it that even before that was a thing, Thursdays were a day for prosperity and money magic. They were associated with Thor, who was a god of abundance and prosperity and things like that. So I find it really interesting. Really, really interesting. It's cool how much magic is seeped into our daily life that people don't even realize. So without further ado, I will get to my review of Magical Fashionista by Tess Whitehurst, and you can read the review at fatfeministwitch.com. In this book review of Shadows, I'm talking about Magical Fashionista by Tess Whitehurst, which I gave 4 crystal balls out of 5. So I've referenced this book a million times here on the blog, especially in my previous episode of Badass Old Witches and Magical Fashionistas, along with basically everything by Tess Whitehurst. I'm like a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. I love how like supportive she is and how much she tells you to just trust yourself and know that you're perfect and you're magical just as is. She's really friendly, and as far as more new age style writers go, I think she's one of the best out there right now. Despite that, when I first bought this book, I was nervous because as a fat woman taking fashion advice from thinner people, it just doesn't always work out. It's not like thin people don't understand fashion or anything. It's just that thin fashion and fat fashion are two like very different things. So I was a little bit nervous. But this was not the case with the book, and I never felt like it was written specifically for thin people or anything like that. So I really liked that. First of all, this book is just so incredibly easy to read and to use that I reread it for this review in like just a couple of hours. I meant to just leaf through it, and I ended up reading the whole thing on my couch. Like, it was so comfortable and so fun. All of a sudden, I realized I was more than halfway through. And that's like the first true marker of a great book for me, is that it's easy to just get lost in it. How do you get lost in a nonfiction book? That's a pretty good compliment. It's also really easy to use for your quick reference while you're actually getting dressed or planning out your week or anything like that. So it's super fun and conversational and friendly and super encouraging and really easy to read through. The book opens up by dispelling that myth that fashion and appearance are vain or shallow pursuits, and that spiritual people shouldn't have time for it, and that it just has no place in your spirituality. She starts right off the bat saying that that's not true, which I firmly agree with. She explains about using fashion along with your intent and your magical knowledge, and how this can change the outcome of your day, or even a really important event like a job interview or a presentation or something. She mentions throughout the book to consider the ethical implications of your clothing and fashion choices as well, most notably regarding animal products, which she really, really opposes. Tess Whitehurst has mentioned being vegan in a lot of her books and not using any sort of real animal products. In this book, you could tell it's a little bit older. It came out in 2013. Because she says, if you feel like you have to wear fur, at least get it thrifted, but I hope in the future everyone realizes we don't need to be wearing animal skin. So I thought it was really cool that she still has these ethical lessons throughout the book when it comes to fashion. That's really important. So throughout the book, Tess compares making your fashion choices and choosing your clothes with creating visual art, which I really, really like. She mentions art quite a few times. I wear a lot of colors and kind of wacky styles, and I often attribute this to being a really visual and artistic person. And other people have said the same thing to me, like, I'm not surprised that you wear all of these conflicting colors because you're just kind of like you're an artsy person. So, so it made a lot of sense. She also encourages you to pay attention to how certain objects or outfits make you feel. A lot of the book is about your feelings and how you feel in the clothes that you wear, or the style that you dress in, or how you get ready every day. Do you actually dress the way you imagine your most authentic self would? Why or why not? She tells you to think about your future, your goals, the kinds of energies and experiences that you want to attract into your life, and the kinds of feelings that you want to stir in others, and to use your fashion or your colors or, the way that you present yourself to the world to kind of match those feelings. The book is full of really great correspondences, which I love because I'm a super organization type person. So it talks about like the energies of each of the days of the week, moon phases, astrological phases, the elements, both Western elements and the Chinese elements, which includes wood, of course, which is really nice. Wood and metal. Colors, shapes, textures, and materials of the clothes that you're wearing. Everything to help you decide, everything from the color of the outfit to the material it's made from, to how to dress for a new moon in Aries on a Monday during the festival of Lunasa, or like whatever. So I found all of it really, really interesting, and I'd never really thought about colors or shapes or types of material and patterns and stuff like that in exactly the same way. But since reading the book, I really have. I bought this book in 2013 when it came out, and it's one that I've used consistently since I bought it. Like, it's fallen apart a little bit. It's sun-bleached, except, the pages are starting to turn brown like old novels from the 80s, just because I carry it with me everywhere, and it's getting kind of dirty. So I really have found that it's an easy book to apply to your actual regular life. There is one section of the book I didn't really like, however. It's kind of near the end, but it's because it mainly had to do with gender and sex, and applying gender to, certain feelings or types of dress or whatever. It's really obvious that Tess Whitehurst is not judgmental about anyone's gender or sexuality, and she's not telling you that you need to dress feminine or need to dress masculine. She's just applying feminine and masculine to certain styles of dress and things like that. That's just not something I feel like I need in my spirituality. In general, I think those gender correspondences aren't really necessary. But then again, as a fat woman, I've often felt pressured to either be extra feminine in my dress to just come out as baseline feminine, or to kind of tone down my appearance to make me seem less large, to make me seem smaller, to seem less imposing, less masculine, you know, as if my body is kind of inherently not womanly because I'm fat and I'm kind of tall. Like, it's not great. And I never really realized I had that much of an issue with my clothing until I really started to think about it. But my own gender, despite being a cisgendered woman, and how I present it is actually something that's come up a lot in my own fashion thoughts and rituals and things like that, just because that I'm a fat woman. I rarely like anything, though, that is dubbed feminine or masculine. Like, as soon as you start lumping things up as always feminine or always masculine, certain colors are feminine and certain shapes are masculine, I'm just kind of out at that point. So even though the advice in that section wasn't for me and I didn't love it, it actually really gave me something to think about as far as how I dress and choose my clothing and how I've rejected clothing in the past. It made me think a little bit more about it. And since I read the book the first time, back in 2013, I've noticed that I care a little bit less if I feel like I'm presenting myself as feminine enough or whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like I've cared less if this outfit kind of makes me look like a dude, or this outfit makes it so that my breasts aren't as prominent, stuff like that. That's just stuff that I picked up through issues with fatness and issues other people have with fatness. And so it was definitely something I personally needed to think about. But I don't think you need to, I don't think you necessarily need to apply gender to your certain articles of clothing. But on that topic, I was kind of impressed all throughout the book with their variety of clothing options and styles of dress and corresponding spells and rituals. There are spells and rituals for all sorts of different types of clothing items or outfits. And some involve dresses, some involve pants, some involve wearing sparkly jewelry or none at all. It talks about dressing in suits and slacks and how that can be powerful for anyone, but for women who feel like they've been pressured into being too feminine. It talks about, in the jewelry section, it's not just about, like, you know, big blingy rings or anything like that. It's also, you know, wristwatches, pocket watches, cufflinks, things like that. So there are a lot of different ways to be a fashionista in the book. You don't have to be a fashionista by most standards to find something useful in the book. You don't have to be wearing designer clothes. You don't have to shop at couture type stores. You don't have to wear makeup. You don't have to wear dresses. You don't even have to wear jewelry at all to follow a lot of the advice in the book. And I really, really liked that. There was even a small section about clothing swaps, about thrift stores, and about considering how much it costs the people who make your clothing. You know, a lot of clothing, because it's super cheap. I love cheap clothing because I'm kind of broke, and being a fat woman, fat people clothes are never cheap. Never. Plus size clothes are very expensive. So I have gravitated towards cheaper, fast fashion type stuff, but that has an incredible human cost. So things like clothing swaps and thrift stores are a really great alternative to that, and I love that they're plugged right here in this book without feeling like she's judging you for not going to clothing swaps. I really liked it. The book in general was non-judgmental, which I thought was really important for a book about fashion and about how we present ourselves to the world. So like I said, I bought this back in 2013 when it was new, and this is one title that I've used so much that it's just nearly falling apart. I love magical correspondences, I love daily magic, and I love using my intuition and my natural spiritual insight when I'm doing mundane things. And dressing magically is something that I almost can't stop doing now. You know, I just have been applying some of these magical vibes to my clothing since then. I have a power outfit that makes me feel really invincible and like nothing can hurt me, which is this like really wild galaxy print dress. And it's not just galaxy, like some colors and some splashes of white. Like, it's got planets and nebulas, and like it glows in black light. It's this really, really wild galaxy dress. And when I'm wearing it, I just feel like nothing can hurt me and I'm going to have an amazing day. So I have that. I have jewelry that I've aligned with certain elements or with certain magical things. Like I have these earrings that look like magic wands. I talked about them a little bit earlier. I have these magic wands earrings. I call them the Queen of Wands earrings. They look like magic wands with kind of garnets floating around them. And it always makes me think of the Queen of Wands tarot card, which is a really empowering tarot card for me. That's one of those cards that I use as like this is the kind of person that I aspire to be. I've also gotten a little bit better at thrift shopping. I've gotten a lot better at intuitively finding stuff in thrift stores. You know that totally wild and wacky thing that you find in a thrift store that looks so stupid and like no one could pull it off, but it's actually perfect for you? I can find that almost every single time now that I've read this book and I've applied my intuition to my fashion choices just a little bit more. I feel like I'm just presenting myself to the world in a way that's more authentic to who I am, which is something that I've always really struggled with. So I still face barriers with fashion, like cost and availability and stuff like that, but I'm better able to use the stuff that I already have in my closet and my drawers, and I'm better able to appreciate that stuff just a little bit more. I also found that I'm more likely to buy things that have colors because I want more clothes in various shades of different colors for different magical purposes. You know, I love colors, but I've always kind of, you know, I wear a lot of black or I wear a lot of colors all at one time, lots of like rainbow or tie-dye or something like that. And I've gotten a lot better at picking out one color or one kind of idea or magical goal that I want to work for and have my entire outfit fit that. It's just something I've gotten a lot better at since using this book for a few years. And I find that I don't hate my clothing quite as much. Even stuff that I think is just like, oh, I'm only wearing this because I need to. I still find something kind of magical about that article or about that outfit. So it's helpful and it's cool and it's fun. I love dressing with intention. I love showing a little bit of kindness to my body and getting to know my body a little bit better. And I love making everything that I do and everything I am magical all day, if that's what I choose. I mean, I get dressed in the morning, and so I start my day off with this really great magical ritual that's also very like quick and intuitive. You know, I don't have to light all my candles if I don't want to. I can just center myself a little bit and think, what are the goals that I want to accomplish today? What day of the week is it? Is it a Tuesday when I should be dressing with fiery Mars energy and approaching the world with like some brutal confidence? Or is it more like a Friday where it's a little bit sweet and loving and romantic and I can wear a floral print or a color that I find especially romantic, like a dark red or something? So it's just this fun ritual that I get to do every morning that sets this really magical tone for the rest of my day. So the book's full of really, really great advice, and you can apply it to how you dress or what you wear or how you want to be seen or how you don't want to be seen. And I think that's actually really valuable. I don't think it's vain. I don't think it's shallow. And I do think it's very artistic and very fun. So that's why I gave this book 4 crystal balls out of 5. If it weren't for this little section on gender, which I just makes me feel a little bit icky. It just makes me feel just a little bit icky. If it went for that, the book would have gotten 5 crystal balls out of 5. And it's definitely one that, like I said, I use all the time. It's an invaluable tool in my whole magical kit, I guess you could say. So, Magical Fashionista by Tess Whitehurst. You guys should definitely check it out. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it, if you're in Canada, you can find it at Chapter stores. I've even seen it at the actual physical stores a few times. And if you have a local metaphysical bookstore, you can of course recommend that they start carrying the book or even that they order one in for you. It's published by Llewellyn, so it's definitely something that they'll be able to get a hold of. And in general, I recommend anytime you hear a book here on the show that you want to get a hold of and maybe you don't want to shop online, go to your local metaphysical store or metaphysical bookstore or any sort of smaller bookstore and ask them if they carry stuff like this and encourage them to start ordering some of the titles that you like and that you know are really good. Why not, right? Maybe they'll carry it and maybe they won't, but maybe you'll get yourself a really great new bookstore. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today about badass old witches and magical fashionistas. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Fat Feminist Witch podcast today and any day. Thank you in general. If you like to find me, you can find me at fatfeministwitch.com or all across social media just by typing in the Fat Feminist Witch, including goodreads.com. So if you are also an avid reader, especially of witchy books, you can find me there. You can catch my reviews, and you can even recommend books to me if you find something really cool that you think I'd love to review on the show. I love recommendations. You can totally throw those at me. I also hope you will check out my social media, especially Facebook. I do have an episode of Seeker's Corner, which is my live show. It's a video show. You actually get to see my weird face. On Friday, March 30th, I'm doing an episode about Blue Moon magic called Blue Moon and Chill, which is also the name of an incredible playlist I've made that I'm obsessed with now. So I'm going to be talking about Blue Moon magic, and I'm also going to be giving away of the incredible Lunar Nomad Oracle, which was just released by Wiser Books within the last year. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a Lenormand-style oracle deck, so it's a little bit different from tarot decks or from kind of standard oracle decks, and I think it's really, really interesting, and the artwork is really beautiful, and it's definitely got a really beautiful lunar vibe. So I'm going to be giving away a copy of that, and that's open to anyone all over the world, but I only have one. So check out my Facebook page and my Twitter and all my other social media between now and then to find out how you can win the Lunar Nomad Oracle, and then check out Seeker's Corner on Friday, March 30th. If you like the show and you like me and you like what I do and you want to support me a little bit, you can go to my website and buy me a coffee, or you can go to patreon.com/thefatfeministwitch. And for $10 a month, you can join the Witch and Bitch, which is a private group where I do different things than I do here on the podcast. I feature more hands-on magical type instruction and discussion. We have a book club. We talk about different herbs and rocks every month, and we have, thematic magical discussions every month going with the energy of the passing year. So it's really fun and interesting, and it's a great way to connect with other like-minded witches. So I hope you guys get a chance to check that out. And all of the money that I get from that does go to support the show and to keep me up and running and on the air. So thank you all for tuning in to the Fat Feminist Witch podcast here in the middle of March. I hope you have a wonderful spring season since it just started, and I cannot wait to connect with you guys again and get a little bit more magical. Have a good day, everybody.